the rudiments of processing, because processing isn't a drug, but it's the rudiments thereof, so that they can let them in and go. So the federal government's interpretation of
The regime, the
assisting
Biden regime,
of
the
relief and
socialists.
management is different from that of people who are saying this is an illegal action. They need to apply for amnesty where it's legal at their embassy or consulate. They need to get in line. There's no good reason why they should be put in front of people who are doing it legally, and that's what's happening.
But if we can bring in a force to lock down those pathways through your ranch, that's going to cause problems for them, and that's going to force other people. If we can bring in other people to survey, it's going to force them to take recognition of where that flow is being diverted. All we can do is try.
The problem is, if you get into a gunfight and you can't fire, that's a problem, because the other side is armed,
No
dangerous,
limits. Yeah,
and you
they have
do
no
not have the
restrictions.
legal right to shoot. So that's a real bad situation.
Well, that's why I said there's a right way to do this and there's a wrong way, and you're exactly right, ma'am, and I can tell you that because we've got to go in. It's one thing to do security detail, to sit there and do surveillance work, but anybody that goes in there wanting to go in with guns ablazing, no. Yeah, you're just looking at saying goodbye to the rest of your life.
We're going to bring surveillance.
So the biggest thing is just wanting to get the intel, just wanting to find out. I know where it's going through, and it's also going over into the No More Death Camp from you guys. That we know that's why they're also using your property, doing a lot of trafficking right over into that. Border Patrol kept trying to figure out how such numbers were going into the No More Death Camp because they could never catch it. Now I understand, and now I understand how.
You want this water?
So,
My doctor told me to drink lots of water. Said it might be a cure for my dry humor.
Has not worked, I'm sorry.
Are you 80 yet? Well, how long has it been? I mean, maybe let's still give it some
84.
time. 84.
What you have pointed out is the Border Patrol has been unsuccessful at stopping the Arivaca connection. That is the U.S. side connection, because these guys that are packing the drugs in are not walking to Detroit. They're leaving their stuff at a GPS site or a safe house or something of the sort. And then the northern extension, which is the outfit on this side, picks it up and to I-19, which goes to I-10, which goes from the East Coast to the West Coast of the United States.
Yep.
And you're on it, go wherever. So they have not succeeded, as far as I can see, they have suspects, but they can't nail it down. So finding, observing, and photographing information on the connection that causes the cartel to come through Arivaca, because they've got this cooperating entity there.
right.
Providing intelligence on that, A, it's dangerous, but B, would be an asset to those who are actually in position to take action. Now you have to watch out who that is, because Border Patrol, yes, Pima County Sheriff,
Known as
well,
So I can
it's
tell
up to
you.
you guys figure that out.
I'll tell you something real quick, and I can share it with you guys when I come on out, and I'm going to show you the reports. I've got 574 pages of Border Patrol making deals with the No More Death Camp, making deals with the cartel, agreed to leave them alone. This is in their reports. This is not my reporting. And I'm not worried about sharing it even on live news, because I've done it right with your news, which is national news. Because I've already got it sitting in 1,000 people's hands. So if they ever try to take me out, because I've shared this and leaked this to the American people, well, there's 999 more people they're going to find that they're never going to find where I shared it with. But the point is, sadly, we've even had our own Border Patrol. And don't get me wrong, we've got a lot of good Border Patrol. But we've got some corrupt, you know what, out there as well. And when I've read those reports and I've seen that corruption, I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. Am I really reading this? but I would like for you guys to read what you read in the reports and just give me your thoughts on it. So it's a sad day for America.
Our position is we just want to keep ranching. We don't want trouble.
Amen.
And you've got to be careful out there because you can get trapped with rip groups.
Yep.
That's right.
That's
That's
right.
Drift. What was the term?
Rip groups.
Rip groups.
Rip.
Rip crew.
Rip.
That's, like I said, you're already between the drug packers and the Border Patrol. And then there's a third force, and that's the Rip Crew. Those are coming in from like Tucson or LA or their MS-13 or they're one or the
Right.
other. And they want to hijack the load.
Oh yeah.
Now, you may look just like hijackers competing with them. So you really have to.
Be careful.
Jim, can I ask you a question? When was the first time that you really noticed that? Obviously there's always been issues, but when did you realize, hey, something's got to change? Like something drastic needs to change. Has it just been in the last few years, or the last decade, or?
Last decade, 10, 15 years ago, I was a strong advocate for putting a wall in and securing the border at the border. It really outrages me that drugs are coming across our range, poison our people, in Montana or Idaho or Detroit or anywhere. And I regard it as an invasion,
Amen.
and the government, Biden administration is supposed to secure our border, and they've failed. And Biden's made a horrible mistake in inviting people in, and essentially having an open border. And I think it's that he does everything for political purposes. And the purpose is to cause our demographics in the United States to change. They did it in California successfully. They're trying to do it all across the nation. And in this country, we have a right to have ideas of how things should be, and they are obviously stating that open borders, catch and release is good for the country. I oppose that idea. I find it outrageous. Those are my ideas, my opinions. It's their opinions. The problem is they've got the chief executive officer, and they've let in just since October 1st, 760,000 people. And
Since when?
October 1st.
October 1st?
760,000.
Almost 1 million people in 2.5 months.
Right.
3 months.
And it's policy and it's purposeful. It's not an accident.
I think we've had.
He's
roughly-
sold out our country for political gain, is what's happened.
It's a game.
Joe Biden has sold out the American people for political gain.
I think just in Arizona alone, John, I think we've had roughly a little over 6 million in our country just through our borders this year.
Just in this one
That's
sector?
That's just this area here, correct.
And I find it objectionable, and I'll speak to that to anybody. It's just my personal opinion. And I'm not there on my ranch to do the federal government's job.
That's right.
And I would happily let people come on the ranch, or, not that I can prevent you, but all I can say is don't do anything illegal. It's dangerous out there. And the cartel will know where you are, and you won't see anybody. They'll group people around you.
If they want you dead, in other words, you're basically dead.
Yeah,
That's
there's
the-
nothing you can do about that.
That's something that people need to understand. So, I mean, that's why when we're down there on the border, when you came down with us that time, I mean, the cartel knows already who everybody that's ever been to the border with me, because they've got facial recognition technology. They've got the whole shebang. They know who you guys are the second you step foot on the border. And I've actually had people take tours, including one of the senators, and he goes, how did they know who I was? And it's like, well, there you go, facial recognition.
How did he know they knew?
Yeah.
How did he know?
Threat.
We got a threat?
Yep.
They have more resources than we could ever imagine.
That's right.
They have unlimited resources.
Yep.
So
Jim, I want to first say God bless you, sir, for taking time to even meet us today. I know your schedule's been so
Yeah.
busy,
He's a good talker, huh?
but
That's great.
He's a good
You're not
talker.
bad yourself.
I couldn't pull this together. I pulled together the Monday.
I'm going to be happy to bring in Mike, other people that can get involved. Like I said, like Mike in this show come in. I like John Padula. He's got a lot of people with the church that might possibly be able to assist. And he can actually help do a Sunday worship out there at the property too, if
Yeah.
you guys don't mind.
One I don't mind on our private property, and it's very difficult to know what's my private property and what isn't, because we don't.
We don't have a fence.
Right. And two, the Forest Service operates under the 1960 Act, local use and sustained yield act, just like in Montana. And that means that I have the grazing rights, the sole grazing rights. But anybody can.
So your cows
They
can
can
go back and
access it.
forth, no problem.
So that means
you have the
guys
sole
don't come in
grazing,
and
nobody
try
else
to eat
can
the
graze,
grass.
but anybody can come through and access it because it's government land.
Right, Jim?
But nobody else can let their livestock out.
That's
What
right.
time is it?
I said, right, Jim?
3:30.
I said, that means you don't want
3:31.
them coming in trying to eat your grass themselves, right?
Unlike
No.
President Clinton, I've never had the opportunity to decide whether to inhale or not.
Well, praise God for you.
And to answer your question, Jim, it's 3:30.
Okay, we got a little more time. It's dangerous out there, and we want to stay out of it.
Yeah.
And we don't want you to be in danger. And I want to emphasize that you've got to be aware that there are folks in Arivaca who would like to be very certain that you're not there.
Oh yeah, including the
And-
restaurant right
Yes,
there.
and there are lot of places with signs on them that say no
Yeah.
militia.
No militia right there on the front door.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
exposed that. I think
I
you
don't
were
know
with
what
us
that
when we
is.
did that, weren't you?
I wasn't in Arivaca. I was only in
No,
three.
Senator Hart was with us. That's right.
Okay, and so, you know, you can read those and know that's somebody coordinating with, okay?
Bought and paid
the
for
Border
by the
Patrol-
cartel.
The Border Patrol is operating under federal orders. They don't get to individually.
Yeah.
It's a quick story about a past event that proves that. The former head of the Border Patrol, intelligence, whatever, was a fellow who lived in Rio Rico, which is near us, okay, along I-19. And Jim and he were on a panel together in Washington, D.C. We got to know each other and found out they were virtual neighbors. So one day,
Congressional hearing.
yeah, our church organist, whose husband was also a rancher on one of the ranches west of us, just up toward the Baboquí Islands, okay, called me up and said, what do we do? My husband found this cache of water and food and stuff. This is maybe 10 years ago by now. But he found it, and he does not want me to report it, because if you report it, it's known where this came from, pretty much, can be tracked. So she calls me, and I said, well, I think I know who to call. So I called this guy who had been on the panel before. He then
Congressional
called,
panel?
He was retired Border Patrol, but he was on this panel with Jim in Washington, D.C., but he was a neighbor in Rio Rico, okay? So I called him and said, this is what I was told by my neighbor on which ranch and where, approximately what time and what numbers of things that she found, or he found, her husband found. And he said, okay, fine, great, I'll do something here. So later we found out he called acting Border Patrol, that is, who were being deployed elsewhere, but they just happened by the site that, was identified. It just happened to pick up the people that were coming through. They were drug packers. But so she had to go to me, I had to go to retired, and he had to go to acting because we couldn't call Border Patrol directly. We can't intervene in their orders of the day or whatever, and who are we to know? So.
It's insanity.
Yeah. So when you have to do that to intercept a truckload,
here's a specific incident.
yes.
I got called by Mark Potter, NBC National News. It must have been 7 years ago, maybe 8. And he interviewed me over the phone about the border issue. And then he wanted to come out. And so he was going to arrive on a Monday in November. And he wanted to see 3 things. He wanted to see then the 4-strand barbed wire cattle fence, which represented the border.
Right.
He wanted to see trash on private land, and he wanted to put out some motion-activated cameras. And I got to thinking, easy to show him the border, and I had ideas where to put cameras out.
Stop it and start moving.
Trash on private land. Oh yeah, I own 160 acres. Up 10 miles from the border, 10 miles from the house. I thought I better go up and check that out. Don't want to take him down the trail, where you don't find trash. So I went up there, I got out on my private land out of my truck, had my gun, and I walked up about 1/8 of a mile to the northeast. Yeah, this is the place to bring him. Trash everywhere, thousands of old water bottles, But I walked back a different way along a ridge, and little did I know that the cartel guys were watching me. And they knew I had a gun. And as I approached them, they jumped and they ran. There I was standing with 4 bales, what appeared to be marijuana. Could have had a kilogram of hard drugs in it, you don't know. Now, the first thing that went through my mind is that Rob Krentz, incidentally, we saw his wife today, but he got killed the day after his brother reported a load to the Border Patrol.
Yep.
And then Larry Link over on the New Mexico-Arizona border found a load. He got killed the day after he found the load. And here I was standing on a load. And I thought, well, what's the right thing to do? Let's contact the Border Patrol. So I'm not going to use the phone because we don't know who's listening out there.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went out onto the Ruby Road and I went almost to the old ghost town of Ruby, about 5 miles, no Border Patrol. Then I turned around and went to Arivaca, could not find Border Patrol. Drove all around the little town of Arivaca, could not find Border Patrol. So I came back to the ranch and I called a Border Patrol ranch liaison officer over 2 stations from us over near the Elgin area and told him about finding this load and would he report it. He called me back 5 minutes. Jim, I did. It's shift change and no one can be to your ranch for an hour and a half. And I said, oh, okay. Then I hung up and then I called Mark Potter of NBC News, who I theorized had landed in Tucson. And he answered the phone. I chit-chat with him. I said, incidentally, I found the load today. What? And he got all excited and he said, can we come out? Well, okay, how do you tell NBC News, no, you can't come out? And the Border Patrol finally shows up. And I tell them that I have some friends with a camera coming out. And they literally panicked and they ran to their vehicle and came back and said, we talked to our supervisor, we're not to get any interviews, any questions should be reviewed to public relations officer, and we prefer not to be photographed. We can live with that. Here comes Mark Potter and Al Hinkle all the way from Tucson, you know. So Super Sue, myself, and Mark Potter and Al Hinkle get in the big truck. I tell them I can show you where it was, but it's undoubtedly gone. And we go up there, and by then it's dark. We have flashlights, and I have my big shotgun, military police officer type shotgun. And we walk up there, and it's still there.
You must have put a heck of a scare in them.
I'm a tough son of a
I love it. I love it.
And so anyway, I helped the Border Patrol pack one of the bales out. Those things are heavy,
Yes, they are.
really heavy.
We've actually packed several out.
And they put them on their backs.
The 50-pound bales probably.
Probably a little
60.
more than that.
Really?
Yeah. We've had them up to 100 pounds down there.
Yeah. And anyway, next day, I took them to the border. They filmed down there, and then I took them back to see the trash. And they filmed there, and then we put out 3 motion-activated cameras, one right near the trash, another one in Natural Pass, south about a mile. And then Super Sue and I took them west from our house. We have 240 acres of private property, and it's locked the gate because the U.S. Fish and Wildlife has locked the gate. We go in, I'm driving along this big mountain. Here's a drug trail. And they didn't say anything. Go about another 100, 200 yards. Here's another drug trail. They didn't say anything. And I hit a third one. They didn't say anything. I said, well, where do you want to put your camera? He said, you pick a spot. So the next drug trail, obvious trail coming off that mountain. I said, how about here? Well, we went up the trail about 35, 40 yards, and Al Hinkle placed a motion-activated camera right under a big rock, you know, it's like this. Then he glued onto the camera the same colored rock. And he put a dead mesquite branch up over the camera like this. And Super Sue planted some Cyto's grandma right next to the camera here. You couldn't see that aperture, you know, and it was facing downhill. All it would do is catch people's back. 10 days later, I go out and pick up all 3 cameras. And Super Sue FedExes them back east. I get a call the next day, Champ, 45 minutes after we put that camera in west of your house, a guy comes along with all face masks, camouflage, takes a stick, reaches in and kicks the camera up into the air. We were being watched by the car.
Yeah, once you set it all up.
Yeah.
Wow.
That taught us a real lesson.
Since then, when
That's
they
crazy.
when they put out cameras, the guys go looking like cowboys with their western hats and the rest of it, and we go into canyons that are heavily tree covered and get in positions where you're not easily photographed or seen from above, and they thoroughly camouflage the cameras. In fact, they now have a little collapsible ladder thing that one of the guys brings, and go up in the tree and glue mark on it that looks like a tree, and it's pretty clever. There's many things going on down there. There's a group just across the border. It's Jesuit priests, Kino Border Initiative, okay? And they are a reception center for people who are deported. So those people are dropped there, and they provide food, counseling, the ability to call home and say you're still alive and you're now headed back to Oaxaca or wherever. This is this is what they were dealing with. They were dealing with people who were deported to Mexico, which could include Central America, but didn't include Afghanistan or something else. Okay. So there's a priest who works there who also comes out to our church. And he has brought, let's see, this on the 7th, it'll be group number 197 from all over the country. That means Georgetown, Notre Dame, St. Louis, University of San Francisco, Jesuit schools from all over the country, high schools, colleges, faculty groups, and parishes, but mostly high schools and colleges.
Jesuit.
And they come out
It's important.
in this program,
Jesuit.
this fellow designs, this priest designed, to get a broad view of the issues of the border. Because what they get is one focused, poor immigrant picture. And they don't see the impact on locals. So the groups come out, and Jim is one of the presenters, I'm one, and we have another fellow who's retired DEA and sheriff's covert operations type person, and he gives a perspective from law enforcement, and we do and it's called Living on the Border. So we've been doing this with these groups for roughly 10 years now, and we have another one the 7th coming up. They go away, they go to the coroner, they go to No More Deaths, they go to Border Patrol, they come to us. We're a little tiny parish on the border, okay? And so they get a bigger view. The view is complex, and you have to operate, because you're out there, knowing all the aspects of it. Many of the people are decoys, and they don't know they will never make it to their destination. They will be routed to be picked up and to pull Border Patrol enforcement away from other action, okay? So when you're out there, you have to be aware that you have all these different factors in play in the same piece of territory, and not find yourselves, caught
The crossfire.
in the crossfire or even the cross purpose of the others. The most risky for us is the locals so far. So that's to keep in mind.
These are like you're talking about these Save the Earth type organizations, right? These
Yes, or the No More Deaths. And by the way, there's also the Samaritans operating out there.
Samaritans.
Yeah.
Samaritans, a pretty decent bunch. We have a lot of experience with them. They put out waters. We put out waters on our
Yeah.
cattle drinking stock ponds, have faucets and water systems. We don't even need drug packers on our place. So water, okay. So the Samaritans put out water, and they're basically older age, retired, Green Valley, well-meaning folks, and they are very different from No More Deaths. So that's another factor. All those operations out there are not operating with one mindset,
No.
and they're all in play. So, it's not like going to war with the Nazis. You got your enemy.
Yeah.
And you
A
got
lot of variables.
4 or 5 different types of motivations operating right in your same ballpark.
Yeah.
Pastor John,
Simple, not
When
simple.
when you became a rancher, did you know you were going to be so well versed on the cartel?
Not at all. Not at all. My turn on the
I
rest.
don't know what
Pastor
you.
John, I'd like, in a minute, I'd like you to do a prayer with everybody if they don't mind doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll
I
wait
don't
for
know
her
what
to come
he told you, but I agree.
You better.
We've been married 60 years.
Your restroom's right back here.
Yeah, that's right.
Places,
Yes,
you
thank you.
have to get a code, and there are 2 rules I believe are very important in marriage. The first rule is your wife is always right. The second rule is even when your wife is absolutely wrong,
She's still right.
going to refer back to number one.
Well, these two young men aren't married yet, so that's good wisdom for them.
Good wisdom.
Amen.
One other
I'd like for you to come over here in a minute and say a prayer for everybody.
Wait till
Yeah.
Sue gets back.
Yeah, wait till she comes back.
One incident was as I was watching TV, heard this huge roar outside, and I go to the window and the helicopter was right up.
That was what 2017. That was the border raid on No More Death. Because there were a helicopter involved in that. 17 trucks.
Well, there's always helicopters flying all
There was
over.
helicopters the day we were there that night. The 64 women and children helicopters just,
Everywhere.
yeah, it was crazy.
Right at the edge of our front yard, this helicopter was here. So I got my shotgun, turned all the lights off, and was ready for anyone breaking in. And he was out there 15, 20 minutes or so. And pretty soon, a couple of Border Patrol agents walked across and arrested a guy right there at our front yard. And another occasion, doorbell rang. I looked out the people, and there was about 17 guys. I counted 17 guys standing in the graveyard. I take my rifle and I open the door and I yell, Allah, Allah. That's easy. I slithered over, turned on the hose, everybody got a drink of water and filled their water bottles. And I yelled, adios, adios, and they went on. It's not my job to report this to the Border Patrol. It's the Border Patrol's job to secure the international border.
Yes.
Another incident happened maybe 6 or 8 years ago. A old-fashioned coyote in a little town of Sarek, which is just south of our border, about 15 miles. The story is that he communicated with a group of about 40 and said, look, I can take you across a lot cheaper. And if you'll pay me, I know the trails. Well, they went off and they get about 5 miles out of Sarek and up on a ridge. Guys are riding horseback with guns. They come down. They take them back to Sarek. And the report is that they raped the women over and over for about 6 or 7 days, beat the guys up. They cut the fingers and thumbs off of the old coyote, and then they released them. And a grader operator of the Border Patrol found the group and called the Border Patrol, and they got them to hospitals and stuff like that. Just horrible things.
If I'm not mistaken, a few of them actually died when I understood.
Then there's a report that 3 old-fashioned coyotes were trying to take a group across, and they were intercepted in the United States, taken back to somewhere in Sassabee, and hung up on a wall. The cartel started skinning them, and they skinned one, he died. They skinned the other one, he died. And they started on the arm of the third one. Oh, we're gonna let you go. Go back and make sure that everybody knows what we will do if you try to bring anybody across the border without us getting paid. It is so horrible.
That's why I said nobody comes through that border without paying their dues to the cartel. Nobody.
Yeah. $2,000 is pretty cheap. Most of the time it's $5,000 plus, or a child or
Maybe
somebody in the sick.
10,000 now.
I think they only give the Africans a discount because they know the Africans are already extremely poor.
Yeah.
And for them, but $2,000 is what you get the million together.
Right.
So, If you don't mind, I'd love to have the pastor here pray over all of us today.
We'd appreciate that very much.
Well, Father, we just want to thank you that you are faithful and you're sovereign. Father, as we know that the world is full of sin and corruption and darkness, God, we know that at the end of the day that you are the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. You are our protector and our provider. God, I pray that you protect this southern border in the name of Jesus. We have a derelict administration who refuses to do their job. They have opened it up so there is now an invasion on our country. And so, Father, I pray in Jesus' name that you'd be the one that stops the illegal, crooked, criminal stuff happening at our border and on this side of the border. God, I pray that you revive this nation and bring it back to where it started. I pray that you take all the darkness and rebuke it right into the pit of hell. And God, I just pray for a covering over Sue and over Jim, over their property, their family, their livestock. I pray, God, that you would put warring angels at the north, the south, the east, and the west, every side of their property in Jesus' name, and make sure, God, that their lives are protected. Give them wisdom, Lord God. Give them the ability to hear your voice and know how to operate day to day without being in harm's way or doing anything to jeopardize their own lives. And God, I pray for every illegal person that comes across this border, that they would hit a spiritual wall, that they would come against your hand, and that you would stop them in the name of Jesus. And for all of these organizations and people who are willing and desirous of wanting to help on this border, I pray that you give them strength and provision to do what you've called them to do also. Your will be done. If our administration won't do it, if our government refuses to do their job, I pray that we the people would be sick enough of it to sacrifice our own lives. We're so comfortable in America, we don't want to give up anything. And that's why we are where we are today. So Lord, forgive us, have mercy on us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Jim, I'd like to have Kathleen, my friend Kathleen, speak to you. Do you authorize that?